Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel today for Light War season, I think this is 39, where we are against TCN, and you can probably see from the video we just had some random bug with moving tiles or whatever. But yeah, section 1, we're on path 2, got America Chavez on node 5 with Dr. Doom. And this fight is basically just going to be a case of trying to stop her from using special 2 or 3. She's going to get quite a bit of Mystic Dispersion from the node putting buffs on me. But overall, just because Doom is Doom, it's probably going to be fine anyway. Chavez is being Chavez there with the random heavy. And for the most part in this fight, I'm going to be using special 1s a lot. Just to try and keep her below 2 bars of power as much as possible. So yeah, it's going to be on the longer side. And also, because she finished off her heavy attack with that third dimension, it is going to mean that my power steal is going to give me less power. It'll still steal the same amount from her, but on my end it will give me less. And also this node, it has some weird form of limber, but for Doom it is essentially just normal limber. And yeah, we build up to a special 3 here, and at this point the fight is over. Worst case scenario, she used a special 2 while she had the third dimension up. It was unblockable, and yeah. But Doom would still survive that quite easily, so it's a relatively safe fight overall. Next fight up is going to be in Nova, and this is pretty much as basic as a Doom fight can get. Basically no nodes here because Nova isn't going to be nullifying any of the buffs. He's got no Mystic Dispersion or anything, so pretty much nothing to this. It's really basic Doom fight against Nova. So the next fight up is going to be a J-Fixer on node 20. We're going to be using Nick Fury for this. And there is one thing that makes this a bit more difficult for Nick, and that is that whenever the defender has an active regeneration buff, you're going to deal 50% less bleed damage. So that's going to make this fight quite a bit longer. So I ended up activating Despair at 3 out of 3 before this fight, just to make sure I could reduce the regen and pretty much completely remove a timeout risk. So you're going to see at the start of this fight, the damage ends up being pretty good. Once Fixit starts using his specials, it's going to slow down quite a bit, because J-Fixit is a tactic defender. So I'm going to have to keep using a heavy attack or a special attack to clear the debuffs, otherwise my bleed debuffs are going to be glancing and just not applying in general. So this fight is going to take quite a while, but it is also a very safe fight. We can shrug off the debuffs quite easily, and that is going to help quite a lot with just the general block damage that J-Fixit will do to you. And yeah, there's not a ton to this fight, it's just going to be pretty long. We will be trying to push into special 2s where the strike counter works out, because that's just going to mean less debuff for us and also less block damage. Do have more fights with Nick Fury after this, so I can't really afford to send him into second life. But overall, this is quite a safe fight. It's just going to be on the slower side. You can see the light attack bleed is only doing 1.5k damage, even pretty much max boosted at this point, which is relatively low. But yeah, he still goes down in just over 2 minutes. It's a fairly safe fight. Next up is going to be Nick Fury on node 23. So this node has, I believe it's encroaching root or something like that. Basically, if you don't land an attack within 6 seconds or are in the middle of a special attack during that time, you're going to get rooted for a few seconds. It also has Power Focus 2. And Power Focus 2 here is going to be quite a significant advantage for us, because we can easily push Nick Fury to Special 2, which is not going to build up the bubble shield charges because it's easy to evade. So we're just going to go for Special 3s, cycle Special 3s and Special 2s, and just essentially try and get ourselves in the kind of position where Nick Fury is not going to be able to use the Special 1s. We can keep using our Special 2s and 3s and cycling those to do a lot of damage. Here his AI decides to be a pain, throws a Special 1, but we actually managed to get the full dexterity on it, and while rooted just dex a few hits, that means that we don't need to use our own power to essentially get unrooted. Push him up to Special 2, use our own Special 3, and now we'll just go for a cycle again, and he's going to be pretty close to second life after this cycle. So yeah, shorten the combo. That'll just mean that there's not as much to it, not as much risk. Uses another Special 1 here. We go for the dex again just because don't want to really build up the bubble shield charges. We don't get the full dex that time. However, we do manage to get a Special 2 off. Here we throw a Special 1 and it will nullify the Fury, however the main purpose of that was to stop the root. From his first life, he had 10 bubble shield charges on me, so we needed to dexterity a hit. And we managed to do that successfully. Here we go for a Special 2. It's going to push him over 20 tactical charges. And because of Power Focus 2, I decide here that I'm not really going to bother actively baiting the special. Just keep hitting into him because he's so low on health. And he goes down. And we have quite a lot of health left. So it's not the ideal way that fight will go, but it's a very safe fight as long as you know what you're doing and don't get hit by a full combo ending with a light. So the next fight is going to be Reg Magneto versus Doom on node 25. So this node has Power Snack when the defender gains a bar of power, it has Power Sting when the defender gains a bar of power, and then Power Snack. We have maxed out Pacify here, so as long as we're only gaining buffs during stun, Doom will not be able to trigger Power Snack. The Power Sting will also not trigger if we're hitting him during the stun over a bar. Magneto's ability accuracy reduction can fail Doom from triggering the aura or the unblockable from the specials. And if that does happen, we're just going to be blocking it because Power Snack triggering not during the stun still has a chance. So it's a lot safer. We've built up to our Special 3 at this point. We're just going to double some prowess. And yeah, we've got 43 prowess here. This is not that high health of a Doom. So he's going to go down pretty quickly from these bleeds after the Special 3. Here he does get the aura unblockable, but doesn't really matter because he's just going to die a few seconds after. Now we've got Path 5 in Section 2. We're going to be using Dr. Doom for the next few fights. This first one is a Hulkling, and basically the plan for this is to try and get protection down when we throw the special free. Keep baiting his specials, keep going for intercepts. We've got a lot of Mystic Dispersion power. Obviously don't push him too high in his own power, but yeah, overall this is going to be a relatively straightforward fight. Going to keep going for the intercepts, keep going for the special freeze, and yeah, there's really not a whole lot to this fight, so I'll just let it play out. So yeah, the Hulkling fight is finished, and yeah, it's a pretty safe matchup overall. Basically just a case of knowing how he works, not pushing him to special free accidentally, and yeah, not a ton to that fight. Next up is going to be a Rintra on No 37. This is going to have Ebb and Flow intercept again, but this one also has Mighty Charge. And we actually don't have a White Magneto for this fight, which I would have much preferred to have if I could. So in general, the plan for this fight, Rintra cannot do a ton of damage to Doom. The Rupture debuffs do not do a lot of damage. He's pretty much can't crit Doom whatsoever. So in this fight, you're going to see me playing like very aggressively. Just because I know that if I do mess up and get hit by Rintra, it is not going to hurt me more. And that timeout is probably overall a bigger threat than just getting killed through hits. There I was trying to go for a special 2 intercept, and obviously it didn't land. And at this point, we're already a minute into the fight, and we haven't taken 20% of his health. But from this point onwards in the fight, we're going to start playing a lot better. A lot of our special 2s land more intercepts. The light attack to help bait his specials. And yeah, I'm just going to let this play out because there's not a whole lot to this fight. It's just playing relatively aggressively, making sure to keep his mystical charges down, but also making sure to land enough damage to kill him in a relatively quick time. See, after the special once, I'm punishing it with a light attack rather than a medium. And that is pretty much just so that he gains less power. Not really much more to it than that, to be honest. It's just gets less power from that. Means it's easier for me to land more intercepts because, like, even though getting hit by a special one is not going to do much damage, I would still rather intercept while he doesn't have a special available, just because, like, it's going to waste less time if I do get hit with the special. So at this point, Rintra is below 10%. He's nearly gone at this point. Just need to land a few more hits and he will be down. End up going for his special 2 with the protection up. He uses a special one there, which means the incinerates will not get purified by Mighty Charge and will just take him out. So the next fight up is probably one of the ones that I was slightly more worried about. This is Sasquatch on Nobe 39 with Dr. Doom. I've done this fight one time before, and it did not go too well. I managed to solo it, however it took about 3.5 minutes, and I also had a White Magneto pre-fight that time. This time I do not have the White Magneto pre-fight because TCN's defensive map is really strong, so we had to make some sacrifices. So there is some level of AI reliance in this matchup in terms of allowing us to land the intercepts. There you can see I ended up not punishing the stun just because Ebb and Flow intercept was going to purify it pretty quickly. Might have had the time window but didn't want to risk it. So you can see here I'm going for the intercept, finally land it. Now what I want to do with the special 3 is throw it right after Sasquatch gains a Wrath charge. So you saw there it went from 7 to 8. He didn't enter Wrath of Tanarak, so we use a special 3. And that is because when he enters Wrath he gains stun immunity, and that does include the passive from Doom special 3. However, he only gains a charge once every, I believe it's 4.5 seconds. So I wanted to make sure that he wasn't going to go stun immune mid special 3 stun. Went into Wrath of Tanarak after, so we start throwing some special 2s. We've got Mystic Boost active here, and yeah, we basically waste his whole Wrath of Tanarak during special attacks, and yeah, he's basically gone at this point just from those couple of special 2s chained together. Do end up missing the parry here using our indestructible boost, but doesn't make a huge difference. And pretty much at this point we just need to land an intercept and finish him off, which we do here. He ends up blocking, which just allows the incinerates and some block hits to finish him off nice and quickly. And yeah. So now we're moving on to Boss Island. I have the whole right side of mini bosses. 2 of the fights will be with Magneto and 1 of the fights with Nick Fury. And yeah, these fights, the Magneto ones especially, are relatively simple. So the first one is going to be Angela on the Safeguard mini boss. And we're going to be using Magneto here. We've got Max Pacify still active, so she's not going to trigger regen if she is stunned while she would trigger it normally. Just going to parry heavy up to special 3 essentially, and there's really not a lot to this fight. Angela has some of the easiest animations in the game to fight, and we're basically stopping any relevance of the nodes here just through the ability accuracy reduction on Magneto. We'll get the unsteady debuff from her throwing specials. I believe it's a 30% chance because Magneto has 70% ability accuracy reduction. But it really does not matter at all. And yeah, this is pretty much as simple as a war fight can get. I'm at special 3 here. I probably could have just thrown this immediately, or at least not when the unsteady debuff is active. But yeah, it's like I'm trying to throw it during the stun, and that will basically mean that Safeguard can't stop the actual attack itself from doing damage. Yeah, the special 3 itself takes about 30% off. Angela being Angela is going to reduce the bleed debuff damage, so that means the shrapnel burst will come in a lot faster. And that's pretty much it. Now moving on to the last 2 fights, we've got a MODOK on node 53, Polka Dot Power and Stun Reflection. We're going to be using Nick Fury here. Now this fight is probably one of the ones I was slightly more worried about, because if MODOK throws his special 1 while Nick Fury is changing lives, he will essentially heal reversal Nick Fury's regen when he goes into second life and kill you. So if the timings are bad when you go into second life, you don't actually have the safety net. So the plan for this fight is mainly just going to be play it relatively slowly, probably going to be on the longer side. Decks are special ones. Don't end combos unless I'm absolutely certain that I will be able to land the 5th hit before his auto block comes back, like in that little bit just shown there. I'm not going to be throwing my special 2s here because they can land a stun and that can get reflected on me. Special 1, I could have gone for get the disorient to reduce the auto block chance, however I just chose to go for special 3s. And yet, as you can see, we're a minute into the fight, he's halfway down and we're still at over 90% health, so it's as long as we don't mess up, this is a really safe fight. And yeah, I'll just let it play out at this point. Believe it lasts around another minute. And yeah, also for this fight, I believe I changed my masteries for the Magneto fights, and I ended up taking points out of Deep Wounds to put them in Pacify. So this fight is a bit slower just because I don't believe I have 5 out of 5 Deep Wounds. But yeah, overall that's quite a safe matchup as long as you know what you're doing. And yeah, they finish it pretty cleanly. Final fight of the war is going to be Magneto against Misty Knight on Node 55, and honestly, this fight is not going to have anything really. So, just discuss the overall war, the war itself. So this war, we ended up going 1-4 down relatively early on. We had issues with planning and everything in one of the battle groups, a lot of timing issues, that kind of thing. So we ended up being at quite a significant disadvantage at the start. Then in the second half of the war we managed to clutch up, didn't die at all. TCN had around 140 fights done, and at this point we were tied on deaths. TCN had the time advantage, and then I believe it was around when they had 143 or 144 fights done, they ended up dying to Mangog on the 54 using Omega Red, which is not an ideal matchup. And yeah, we ended up winning this war 5-4. And yeah, thank you all for watching. My war in terms of the fights is pretty much over at this point, with Magneto taking out this Misty Knight. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.